Hello and welcome to my video for design thinking. I have decided to do a video presentation. I hope that's okay. So today we will talk about Disruptive Design Method Handbook by Leila Akaroglu. So why we have been given some prompts to talk about this reading. So first of all, why is this method disruptive? So the author talks about disruption as opposed to innovation. And she says that innovation is doing something that has already been done before, but better. But disruption is doing something completely different, something totally new, something unexpected. So she says that when you're innovating, you already know there is a market for your product. But in this way, you are iterative. You are doing things in maybe non-linear, divergent ways. Sometimes it can be counterintuitive. And in a way, it's rebellious, it's new, it's different, it's unexpected. Uh, she stresses the, let's say, a social side of her method. She talks about sustainability. She talks about social responsibility. So that is why her handbook is called Disruptive Design. Uh, move to the next slide. Yes. So then we should talk about something she calls suspending the need to solve. So basically, she says that sometimes we can ruin the thinking process and the process of finding some solution by wanting the solution too soon. So basically, we start thinking about a problem and we already think we know how to solve it, and that's a problem. She says you must really embrace the not knowing right now and to go into the problem to try and really understand it. And you can have ideas on the way. I like that quote that it's not that you should have ideas, but you should maybe write them down and not thinking about them so much. And only when you are sure you really understand the problem is the time when you can start thinking about the solution. So you should understand first, create some insights, and then try to solve. So that was the suspending the need to solve. And then we were asked to talk about the stages of the disruptive design process. So I here have put the traditional design thinking process, and this over here on the right side is the disrupting design process. And basically they correspond. She calls it mining, landscaping, and building. And it basically corresponds, mining is basically empathizing with the problem, trying to understand it. Landscaping uh, kind of corresponds to defining the problem, being sure you have a range in which you want to operate. And then building are basically the next three processes of ideating, trying to come up with the solution, prototyping, and testing. And in here, as well as in traditional design thinking, you should be um, going over these steps over and over until you have the final product, which is in the picture down below. So um, she also talks a great deal about research, and she says that it's obviously very important because we need to explore the area, the problem, try and dissect it and understand it. So she, of course, offers some like methods. She talks about desk research, field research, focus groups, and so on. But basically, she breaks it down that before we actually start the research, we should define the problem area and set the scope. So she says this on an example, if I remember correctly, that she says if we are talking about disposable coffee cups, then maybe we say that the growing of coffee beans is outside of the scope, even though it's very important and it could be interesting. We say that that's not important for us. And then we should frame a research question, and that should help us then to mine, to really go inside the research. I like the quote that you don't have to have the actual research question like written down, but you should define what you want to understand. And she also talks, what I liked about the that you should try to have information from different sources. So you could print out a questionnaire, you could go into the field and try to observe someone, but it should be like an approach. You should never stop thinking about it, and you should try and take the information from as many sources as you can. So I like that about the paper. And lastly, she talks about ethics, and I think that was very refreshing and important. I didn't really see that so much in like academia. And she said that it's critical to understand that sometimes you are researching something that doesn't concern you because it's, I don't know, maybe it's a product that you wouldn't use, it's a problem that you don't have, and then maybe you're doing an interview with someone and it's very personal to them, and you should really think about this and be cautious and approach it with ethics and empathy. So, for example, if you were to look into an app that could help people with their mental health, then and you feel like you wouldn't need it, but you know that some people would, it's not really kosher to go and ask, okay, so you have depression, how is that? Like, you should probably read about it and be careful with asking those questions. So I really liked how she approached this in her paper. And that's my video. I obviously, my main source was the paper itself, and I also used this link for the picture about the traditional design thinking method. So that's it from me. Thank you very much. Goodbye.